I am male 29 and my wife is female 28. She is 5 months pregnant. I have a journal that I write in occasionally. My wife knows I have one and I have told her it's private. I don't have any big secrets, but it's a private space for me to write out some thoughts and give me time to think. A week ago I started to suspect that my wife was reading my journal. I had written that it would be nice to see a friend again because we hadn't seen each other in over 2 years. The next day my wife asked me about how that friend was doing and if we were planning on meeting up any time. I found that a bit coincidental. Then I started thinking back on some other coincidences, such as my wife getting me something relatively obscure for my birthday that I had written about. I wanted to be absolutely sure, so last night I wrote a fake thought that my wife was gaining too much weight in pregnancy and becoming unattractive. She's not, she's fit and fine. That sounds harsh, but I wanted to write something that 100% was fake and I never had said or implied, or something my wife would just ignore. Well, today I went out to get groceries and came home to my wife crying. I asked her why and she said she can't believe I thought she was overweight and unattractive. I asked her where she heard that and she threw my journal at me. I asked her why she was reading my journal that she knew was private. She said that's not the point, the problem is what I wrote. I told her the whole point was for me to catch her reading it and now I know she does. She called me an asshole and said I need to apologize. By this time I was pretty mad, so I said I will never apologize for anything I wrote in my journal and she needs to realize that she is the only one who did something wrong, otherwise we have bigger problems in our relationship. She wanted me to leave the house but I refused, so she is staying at her sister's now. I am committed to holding my line and not compromising. I'm right? I 42 male have been married to my wife 39 female for 15 years. We have a wonderful 14-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. My wife's mother has some views that I don't agree with. 2 years ago, for our daughter's 12th birthday, she sent her a book about crash dieting that promised something like 10 pounds of weight loss in 3 days. Our daughter was devastated because the underlying message was clear as day. It was a month until she started eating a whole plate of food for dinner again. Our daughter is a healthy girl. She is highly active, studious, and most importantly, happy. Her grandmother believes that she's not reaching her full potential, whatever that means, and thinks that she'll be on the front covers of magazines if she can just shed some weight. Since she made these views clear to me, I have made it my mission to block any unsupervised contact, and this includes gifts. About a month ago, with my daughter's upcoming 14th birthday, Grandma texted me asking for our new address. Normally she would ask my wife, but since she didn't answer within 10 minutes, she texted me instead. My wife would have given her our real address, but I was able to respond first with a fake one and tell my wife no response was necessary. I couldn't guarantee that I'd be home to intercept any gifts, and my daughter would open something addressed to her. It gave her some numbers / a street somewhere that I wasn't even sure existed. A couple of weeks later, after my daughter's birthday, I realized that it did not in fact exist, as her package was returned to her. Both she and my wife were furious. And my wife amended the address I gave her before. Grandma insisted it was a completely innocent package. Well, the day it was scheduled for delivery, I decided to work from home. When it arrived, I opened it up and found a baton-twirling uniform, my daughter's hobby. Sound innocent enough? It was at least 2 sizes too small. I sat my wife down with the stupid thing in front of us and said it was clearly intentional, which my wife refuses to acknowledge. Now she and her mother are even madder at me for throwing the uniform into the neighbor's garbage, with the neighbor's permission. Did I handle this correctly? I just started a new job and became eligible for benefits. One of the benefits is a free $25,000 life insurance policy. I decided to sign up cause it's free, so why not? I put the primary beneficiary as my dad and the secondary as my fiancé. If it pays out, it would pay out 50-50. They needed the beneficiary's info, name, date of birth, contact information, and it asked for social security number too. I called my dad, told him what I was doing, he gave me the info and that was that. I called my fiancé and asked him and he immediately got defensive. Why do you need that? What is this for? Valid question, but I had told him at the beginning it was so he could be a beneficiary to my life insurance policy. This isn't some scam website, it's through our HR health benefits. He refused to give it to me and was getting angrier and more upset the more I pushed for it until finally I gave up and just didn't add him because it wouldn't let me add him cause the SSN was a required field. When we got home I asked him what the big deal was and he basically said that information is his information and he's not giving it to me. I pointed out to him that since we're getting married I will at some point likely need his social. I pointed out he wanted to be added to my insurance after we got married, his job doesn't offer any, and that I would definitely need his SSN for that, bank accounts, mortgages, credit cards. I'm not posting it on the internet, it's so he can get money in the event I die. Anyway, long story short, we argued. He's adamant his information is his information and he doesn't want to be in the system. I reminded him he was in the military FFS, he is already in the system. Finally, I told him okay, then I won't add you to my life insurance or health benefits because I can't add you without that information. He responded saying that I was extorting and blackmailing him and then he left for his brothers.
I, 32 female, co-parent my 13-year-old, Lily, with her father. We are generally flexible with days and neither of us have a problem with the other. A few weeks ago he texted me could I pick up Lily Friday September X instead of Y and drop her off A instead of B. When I asked him why he said his brother-in-law passed away and his funeral was Saturday and he wanted to leave Friday. It was in a city several hours away. I agreed to this. I wasn't happy with her missing school but I compromised. A few days ago a friend of mine sent me pictures of him with Lily at a ball game from that Friday in the city where his BIL's funeral was. He never told me anything about that. I texted him and asked what was up with that and why he had lied and he said that he hadn't lied. It had been a lucky coincidence their favorite team was playing in that city and he figured they might as well go to a game to see some of her favorite players. I asked if she had homework she should be doing and he said she had plenty of other time to do it and this was important to him. I am very big on the importance of Lily doing well in school, so this was upsetting to me that he put a child's game and something he wanted to do over her schoolwork. I don't even think she likes the team for any reason other than to connect with her father, and I think this was mostly for him because I see all the nostalgia stuff he posts on social media about the team. I told him he shouldn't have left that out of the plan he gave me and that I wasn't changing custody anymore for his mother's birthday. And that he could pick her up and then drop her off a few hours later, but she wasn't staying overnight and I wanted those hours back later. Now he's incredibly upset at me and called me an asshole for overreacting. I just want Lily to understand an education is important and to be prioritized and be surrounded by people that understand that. Every year the guys in my husband's family go on a trip and none of the girls have ever been allowed to go. According to my sister-in-law they've tried for years to be included but they've never been and the guys act super secretive about the whole thing. This year my husband wasn't going to go because he didn't want to leave me home alone as I'm pregnant. His cousins asked me to come too because they would prefer that to my husband not going and breaking the tradition. I agreed to go but then I mentioned how I would be bored and asked my husband if his sister and some of his other female relatives could come too to keep me company. I told him I didn't want to go otherwise so he invited them, which didn't go over well with the other guys. A few of them are really upset with me and have accused me of hijacking their trip. It's turned into this huge thing and now the trip might be cancelled. My husband and I just celebrated our 8th anniversary, but have been together since we were both juniors in college. We also have a 4-year-old daughter together. After we graduated college we moved to San Francisco because he was a computer science major and wanted to work in big tech, while I was an anthropology and English grad and did teach for America. While I understand my job isn't as lucrative as his, All those years we lived together before marriage, I always prided myself on paying all my personal expenses out of my own account and taking care of all the household logistics to make up for only paying 1/4 of the rent of our apartment. However, the man my husband was back then was supportive about my goals and didn't ever make me feel like we had to keep score about who contributed what or who was entitled to what as a result. I have great admiration for my husband and recognize that he is an extremely talented software engineer who came from nothing. However, the way he has been acting recently has definitely made me question if this is still the same man I married. My husband was working for a very large corporation and getting good raises, but a friend of his asked him to become a technical co-founder for a business idea. I encouraged him. We moved to a pretty cramped apartment, went through our savings, and I defended him when people would say, all they really have is an idea. My husband and his partner were rejected by dozens upon dozens of investors, had to let employees go because they couldn't afford salaries, dealt with the fact that every business hopeful in town was basically willing to betray them to get ahead. At one point his co-founder moved into our apartment because his wife was divorcing him, saying she was sick of him never having time for her. Finally the business started taking off and we had put off marriage and kids because he said he wanted to be able to support a family. After that, he proposed and I was happy to sign a prenup, especially since I assumed I would continue to work. Right before the birth of our daughter, however, his company decided to move their main headquarters to Tennessee for business reasons and so we moved there. Right after the move, I gave birth and that is when things started to change. He was big in the entrepreneurial circles there and took up horseback riding and golfing. Through that he started meeting new friends who were in their successful men in their late 30s who were outwardly conservative but also lived the fast life. I did not like a lot of them because they would say really rude things about women sometimes and generally were pretty dismissive of others' feelings when push comes to shove. Around that time, his co-founder, and probably the friend he spends the most time with, before and now, decided he was sick of having short-term relationships and decided to get married this year. His wife is 23 years old to his 40, almost 41, and 1 month after having their son she was back in a bikini looking better than she did pre-baby. Let's just call her Anna. Anna stopped working when she began dating his friend and basically posts about how much she admires her husband every day. She also fights a lot of his battles for him, basically arguing with others on his behalf when her husband feels slighted and will blast these arguments out on social media. Whenever we socialize with them, I always catch him looking at them with a wistful look in his eyes, before looking at me with a lot of scorn and resentment. He has been coming home late for the past year and these late-night disappearing acts have only increased. He will stink of booze when he finally lays down next to me. His comparisons of me to his friend's wife have now started in earnest. He will criticize my career saying that being basically a librarian is boring, that I don't earn that much. Plus asks why I cannot be like his friend's wife Anna, who just does secretarial work for free for her husband and devotes her time to figuring out how he can make more money from his investments and such. He calls it my annoying working mom routine even though I am the one who does all the childcare and housework. He will complain that I cannot just drop everything at work to go on an impromptu 2-hour workout with him because he usually can leave work whenever he wants, and whenever his friend wants to do something spontaneous his wife Anna will drop everything to go with him. He has gone from an average build to working out all the time and decided to get Botox and veneers he didn't need. He encouraged me to get fillers and Botox to stop my eyebrows from raising, saying even if I get too much it is better than wrinkles and will wear off. He got mad when I didn't, saying Anna knows a good doctor, works out every day, and got a tummy tuck. Whenever we fight now, he goes straight for the jugular and will point out that his single friends are having a better life than he does. He tried to hold our prenup over my head saying that we weren't at the 10-year mark so I'd barely get anything. He calls Anna the ideal wife and wants me to hire a nanny and maid so that I could be as energetic as her. All throughout this, he claimed to be a completely faithful husband, which I doubted. I read every midlife crisis book available basically and tried everything. I planned date nights, went on 5 a.m. workouts with him, used up all my vacation time to be there for him, but my efforts were reciprocated with criticism. He would say I could not keep up with him, that I looked tired all the time, etc. Finally, I followed him and caught him going to a strip club. His only explanation was that Anna lets her husband go to strip clubs and does threesomes with him, and tried to turn this into convincing me that cheating was okay and I should participate when he wants it. I am so disgusted with him, and I consulted with a divorce lawyer. She looked over our prenup and says that in her experience spouses sometimes use things like 10-year clauses to justify them nitpicking everything. Like a "what have you done for me recently" type of thing. And that it will probably get worse since we are approaching 10 years and he may be thinking about whether or not to divorce me. She predicted that he would be a high conflict ex, but asked me if I thought he would try to divorce me before the 10 years are up. I honestly do not know and really am afraid of what this would do to our daughter. I keep hoping this is a midlife crisis he will apologize for and forget, but I am so miserable right now. He has an ideal of an ideal wife and I am failed to measure up. What do I do?